Day 5. The dark smells like dust and metal. I can't see the door anymore, but I know it's there locked. My name is Danielle. I'm 17 and my parents put me here. Not strangers, not kidnappers. My parents. It started at our family dinner when my mom smiled at the police and told them I was out with friends. She knew exactly where I was because my dad had already made sure I wouldn't be leaving anytime soon. A video proved they'd planned it all. Before I tell you everything I want to know, what time is it, where you are, and what city are you in, it keeps me going, knowing how far this story travels. Our Craftsman house sat on a quiet street in Portland suburbs, its cedar siding blending with the evergreens and misty air of the Pacific Northwest. The storehouse out back, a weathered shed for my dad's tools and old army gear, was tucked behind the garden where I used to read on sunny days. My father Robert worked as a software engineer at a tech startup downtown. His 8 years in the Army before I was born shaped everything about him, every rule, every expectation. He used an app to track my phone's location, my texts, even my search history. If I stepped out of the house without checking in, I'd get a notification, "Where are you?" Dinner was at 6 sharp, and being 5 minutes late meant a lecture about responsibility that could last an hour. My room had to be spotless, bed-made, books aligned, no clutter, or he'd ground me for a week, no questions asked. My mother, Erin, taught 3rd grade at the local elementary school. She was softer, always smiling, but never challenged him. When he yelled about a misplaced shoe or an undone chore, she'd give me a look that said, "Just do what he wants." Later, she'd slip into my room with a granola bar or a kind word, her quiet way of smoothing things over without admitting anything was wrong. The rules were endless. No social media unless approved. My phone was locked in a drawer by 8 p.m. Friends had to be vetted, which left me with just Erica, my best friend, since 6th grade. Her family, the Donovans, lived a few blocks away in a cozy house with a porch swing. Mr. Thomas, her dad, was a mechanic who loved joking over dinner, telling stories about fixing vintage cars. Mrs. Mary, her mom, was a nurse who baked cookies for us after school. Their home had laughter, arguments that didn't end in shouting, mistakes that didn't feel like crimes. It was everything mine wasn't. I'd sit at their kitchen table watching them talk about their day and wonder why my house felt like a checkpoint instead of a home. School was my escape. I kept a 3.9 GPA not just to please my parents, but because good grades felt like a ticket out. I joined the writing club during lunch, where I could pour my thoughts into stories and essays. Writing started as a hobby when I found my grandpa's old laptop in a box of his things after he passed. It was clunky with a sticky keyboard, but it became my lifeline. I started a blog under a pseudonym, posting about school life, the struggles of kids in our town, even the homeless encampments near the trails. Erica, who was tech-savvy and always tinkering with gadgets, helped me set up a tiny camera in my room for a school project about daily routines. It was a small device hidden among my books, syncing to my cloud account. We never took it down, it just sat there forgotten. My parents didn't know about the blog. They thought writing was a distraction, though they allowed the club because it looked good for college applications. At club meetings, I'd share drafts with Erica, who always pushed me to dig deeper. "Write what you're afraid to say," she'd tell me, her eyes bright with encouragement. I started to see my words as a way to make sense of my life, to question the rules that choked me. At home, I pushed back in small ways. I'd ask why we couldn't talk about politics at dinner or why I needed permission to go to the library after school. Each question got me a cold stare from my dad, a warning to watch my tone. My mom would whisper, "It's easier if you just listen," but the more I wrote, the more I saw how wrong it all was. Their control wasn't love, it was a cage. I started staying late at school, claiming club activities, but really I was working on my blog, posting about the pressure of living under constant watch. Erica would sit with me in the computer lab helping me tweak the layout or secure my account. One day she showed me how to encrypt my posts so no one could trace them back to me. Just in case, she said, half joking. I didn't know how much I'd need that later. The trails near our house became my other refuge. On weekends when my dad was at work, I'd walk the paths, laptop in my backpack, finding quiet spots to write. The forest air, damp and cool, made me feel free, even if just for an hour. I'd write about the kids at school who felt trapped, the ones whose parents didn't notice them, the ones who noticed too much. My blog started getting comments, strangers saying my words made them feel seen. It was the first time I felt like I mattered beyond my parents' rules. But the tension at home kept growing. One night I forgot to lock my phone before 8 p.m. and my dad saw a notification from the writing club group chat. He didn't say anything, just took the phone and added another app to monitor my focus. My mom watched silent as always, but her eyes looked sad. I started to wonder if she wanted to help, but didn't know how. Erica noticed the change in me. "You're quieter lately," she said one day at her house as we ate her mom's oatmeal cookies. I told her about the new app, the way my dad checked my search history every night. She frowned, then said, "We'll figure out a way to keep your writing safe." Her confidence gave me hope, but also made me reckless. I started writing bolder posts about control, about parents who saw kids as projects instead of people. I didn't name names, but the words came from deep inside me. I thought I was careful, hiding behind a fake name, but I didn't account for how closely my dad watched everything. Then an email arrived that changed everything. Writing became my rebellion, my way of carving out a space that was mine. My blog posts were getting attention, comments from kids across the country who felt the same weight I did, trapped by expectations they couldn't meet. At school, the writing club became my sanctuary. Erica and I would spend lunch hours brainstorming ideas, her tech skills helping me polish my posts. One day, our club advisor, Ms. Carter, pulled me aside after a meeting. "Danielle, your essays have a voice." She said, her eyes serious. "You could do something big with this." Her words lit a fire in me. I started dreaming of a future where my words could matter, where I could be free. Then the email came. It was from the University of Chicago, offering a summer writing program for high school juniors. A 2-week intensive in creative writing, working with real authors, creating stories that could reach thousands. They'd seen my blog, someone had shared it anonymously, and invited me to apply based on my portfolio. The program was selective, only 25 students nationwide, and it was fully funded, meaning I wouldn't need my parents' money. I sat in the computer lab staring at the screen, my heart racing. This was my chance, my ticket out of the cage. But I knew my parents would never let me go. 2 weeks in Chicago, away from their rules with people they didn't approve, it was unthinkable. Erica was the first person I told. We were at her house, sprawled on her bedroom floor, her laptop open to code she was tweaking for fun. "You have to apply," she said, her voice firm. "This is huge, Danielle. You're good enough to get in." I hesitated, thinking of the fallout at home. "They'll say no," I said. "They'll lock me in my room before they let me go." Erica grinned, undeterred. "Then we don't tell them. We make a plan." That's when we came up with the idea. The program was in July, during the Donovans' annual trip to visit relatives in Seattle. I'd tell my parents I was going with them, something they'd allowed once before. Erica's parents would drop me at the bus station instead, and I'd take a Greyhound to Chicago. It wasn't perfect, but it was a chance. The application needed a parental signature, which stopped me cold. Erica, ever practical, suggested I scan an old permission slip my mom had signed for a school trip and edit it. I'd been saving birthday money for years, stashed in a shoebox under my bed, about $500, enough for the bus and incidentals. My parents never checked there. They didn't expect me to hide anything. Around the same time, I got an email from Aunt Lisa, my mom's older sister. She lived in California, someone I'd only met a few times at family reunions. Her email was short but heavy. I heard from your mom you're doing well in school. I'm proud of you. I wish I could have stood up to your dad when I was younger. He was always controlling with her. It was the first time anyone had confirmed what I'd suspected. My dad's grip wasn't just on me. It made me wonder why my mom never fought back. I worked on the application in secret using the school computer lab after hours. Erica helped me polish my portfolio, picking my best blog post ones about identity pressure, the kids I saw struggling in our town. When the acceptance email arrived, I was at school sitting in the library with Erica. Congratulations, Danielle, it read. Your unique voice and perspective have earned you a spot in our program. I couldn't breathe. Out of hundreds of applicants, I'd made it. Erica grabbed my arm, squealing, "You're going to Chicago." But the joy didn't last. I started pushing boundaries at home, testing how far I could go. I'd come home 10 minutes past curfew, claiming I was at the library. I'd ask why we never talked about the news, why everything had to be so rigid. One night at dinner, I pushed too far. Why can't I have a say in my own life? I asked, my voice sharper than I meant. My dad's fork froze midair. You're 17, he said, his tone icy. You don't get a say. My mom looked down at her plate, silent. The acceptance email came on a Saturday when both my parents were home. I'd set my laptop to auto-sync emails to my phone, a mistake I didn't realize until too late. My dad was in the living room scrolling through his tablet when he saw the notification pop up. "What's this?" he asked, holding my phone. I tried to grab it, but he pulled it away. "Just college stuff." I lied, my voice shaking. He opened the email, his face darkening as he read. University of Chicago, a writing program. When were you planning to tell us? I stammered. I just found out I was going to talk to you. The lie fell apart fast. He scrolled through the email thread, finding the application details, the portfolio submission, even Ms. Carter's recommendation. You've been planning this for months, he said, his voice low and dangerous. Behind our backs. My mom walked in carrying a grocery bag and froze. What's going on? She asked. My dad thrust the phone at her. Your daughter's been lying to us, Erin. Planning to run off to Chicago. I tried to explain. It's a scholarship, a huge opportunity. Only 25 kids got in. My mom's face paled as she read the email. Oh, Danielle, she whispered. Why didn't you tell us? Because you'd say no. I shouted, years of frustration spilling out. You never let me choose anything. My dad stood his chair, scraping the floor. You think you can disrespect us like this? After everything we've done? My mom reached for his arm. Robert, let's talk about this, but he shook her off. No, she needs to learn. He grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the back door. Dad, stop! I yelled, struggling. My mom followed, her voice trembling. Robert, maybe we should just ground her, but he was already dragging me across the garden to the storehouse. 7 days, he said, shoving me inside. 7 days in the dark will fix you. The storehouse door slammed and the lock clicked behind me. The storehouse door slammed and the lock clicked behind me. I stood frozen in the dark, the air heavy with the smell of dust and rust. The shed was small, maybe 10 by 12 feet, filled with my dad's old tools and army crates stacked against the walls. A single window, high and narrow, let in a sliver of moonlight, barely enough to see my own hands. I was alone, trapped in this cold, damp space behind our Portland house, the craftsman home that now felt like a lie. My parents weren't coming back, not tonight. Maybe not for 7 days like my dad promised. I sank to the floor, my back against a crate, trying to process what had happened. Parents didn't lock their kids in sheds. That was for crime shows, not suburban families with neat lawns and hiking trails nearby. My dad's words echoed. 7 days in the dark. We'll fix you. Fix what? Wanting a life of my own. Writing stories that mattered. I pounded on the door, my fists stinging against the wood. Dad, let me out. I shouted, my voice cracking. "Mom, please!" No answer, just the faint sound of their footsteps retreating across the garden back to the house. Day 1 blurred into night. The storehouse was freezing, the concrete floor seeping cold through my jeans. I had no jacket, just the t-shirt and leggings I'd been wearing at dinner. My phone was gone. My dad had taken it weeks ago as punishment for a late library trip. There was a rusty sink in the corner, dripping water that tasted metallic, but kept me hydrated. I rationed sips, unsure how long they'd leave me here. I tried the window climbing crates to reach it, but it was sealed shut, too small to crawl through, even if I could break the glass. The door to the backyard was padlocked from the outside, a precaution my dad had added after a neighbor's shed was robbed years ago. Now it kept me in. By day 2, the silence was heavier than the dark. I could hear faint noises from the house dishes, clinking, the TV murmuring, but no one came. I shouted for my mom again, banging on the door until my hands ached. "Mom, I'm sorry. Okay, just open the door." Nothing. Had she agreed to this? Her silence at dinner, her whispered, "Oh, Danielle," felt like betrayal now. I started pacing, counting steps to stay sane, 10 across, 12 deep. The storehouse felt smaller with every loop. I wondered what they were telling people. Erica would notice I was gone. She always did, but would she believe whatever lie they told? Day 3 hit hard. My legs felt shaky, like I could barely stand. The cold was constant, sinking into my bones. I hadn't eaten since dinner, and my stomach twisted with a dull ache I tried to ignore. I needed to focus to find a way out. I started searching the crates, digging through old camping gear, rusted tools, and boxes of my grandpa's things. That's when I found it, his old laptop, the one I'd used to start my blog. It was buried under blankets, its battery long dead, but there was a charger coiled beside it. My heart raced. Could it still work? I also found a small notebook, its pages yellowed. It was my mom's diary from years ago, before I was born. I opened it, my hands trembling in the dim light. The entries were short, written in her neat cursive. "Robert says I need to be better," one read. "He locked me in the garage for 2 days to think. I can't keep doing this." I froze, rereading the words. My mom had been through this. She'd been locked away just like me, and still she let it happen to me. The realization hit like a punch. She wasn't just silent. She was complicit. Her kindness, those granola bars, felt hollow now. I grabbed a pen from the crate and started writing in the diary's blank pages. I wrote about the email from Chicago, the fight at dinner, the way my dad's grip bruised my arm as he dragged me here. Writing kept me grounded, kept the fear from swallowing me. I described the cold, the dark, the way the storehouse seemed to shrink around me. If I didn't make it out, someone needed to know what happened. By day 4, I was desperate. I banged on the door again, screaming until my throat was raw. "Mom, you know this is wrong. Let me out." I pressed my ear to the wood, hoping for her voice, but heard only the wind outside. Later that day, I caught muffled voices from the house. Erica's, maybe. Had she come looking for me? I shouted her name, but the storehouse walls swallowed my voice. My mom must have told her I was out, maybe with friends, like she'd later tell the police. The lie made my chest tighten. I turned back to the laptop. The charger was a mini USB, ancient but compatible with an outlet near the sink. I plugged it in, holding my breath as the screen flickered. 1 bar of battery lit up. No internet, but I checked the network settings, and there it was, our home Wi-Fi, weak but present. My dad, for all his control, never changed the default password on the router. I typed it in, my fingers shaking. The signal was faint, dropping in and out, but it connected. I opened a messaging app, one I'd used for school projects with Erica. In storehouse, locked in, 4 days. Help, I typed, my hands clumsy on the sticky keys. I pressed send, praying Erica would see it in time. I pressed send, praying Erica would see it in time. Day 5 in the storehouse felt endless, the cold concrete biting into my skin as I huddled near the sink, clutching my grandpa's laptop. My hands shook from weakness, my body sluggish after days with only water. The faint Wi-Fi signal flickered and I stared at the screen, willing a reply to appear. Nothing came. The storehouse was darker now, the sliver of light from the window fading as evening settled over Portland suburbs. I was losing hope, wondering if my message had even gone through on this ancient machine. Day 6 brought new sounds, car doors slamming, voices outside. I dragged myself to the door, banging weakly. "Erica, is that you?" I called, my voice hoarse. No response, just the hum of the neighborhood. My mom must have been spinning her lies, telling Erica or anyone else who asked that I was out with friends. I sank back to the floor, the laptop my only lifeline. I checked it again, but the battery was down to 5%, and the Wi-Fi kept dropping. I typed another message to Erica, still here. Day 6. Please help. I hit send, then powered it off to save what little charge remained. I didn't know Erica had seen the first message. She'd been suspicious when my mom brushed her off at our house, saying I was visiting friends for a school project. Erica knew I'd never disappear without telling her. Back at her place, she logged into my cloud account. We'd shared access for a group assignment and checked the footage from the tiny camera hidden on my bookshelf. It had recorded everything my dad Robert dragging me out of the house after the dinner fight. His voice sharp as he said, "7 days in the dark will fix you." The audio caught my mom Erin standing silent in the background, her face pale but unmoving. Erica's hands shook as she downloaded the video, knowing it was proof of something unthinkable. She didn't wait. Erica called the Portland police, sending them the footage and my messages. She told her parents, Mr. Thomas and Mrs. Mary, who insisted on going with her to the station. By day 7, I was barely holding on. My legs wobbled when I stood, my head pounding from dehydration. I curled up on the concrete, the laptop clutched to my chest, trying to focus on anything but the dark. Then I heard it, tires crunching on the gravel outside, followed by heavy footsteps. Voices loud and unfamiliar echoed through the garden. I staggered to the door, banging with what strength I had left. "I'm in here!" I shouted, my throat raw. The lock clicked and the door swung open. Light flooded the storehouse, blinding me. Officer Michelle, a woman with a calm but firm voice, stood at the threshold. "Danielle, are you okay?" she asked, her flashlight scanning the shed. Officer Charles stood behind her, his hand on his radio. I nodded, too weak to speak, as they helped me out. In the house, I saw my parents in the living room, my dad's face a mask of fury, my mom's eyes wide with panic. Detective Carla, the lead investigator, was there, holding a tablet. "Mr. and Mrs. Collins," she said, "we have video evidence of you forcibly confining your daughter." My mom stammered. She was just out with friends, ask anyone. But Detective Carla held up the tablet, playing the footage. My dad's voice filled the room, cold and commanding. "7 days in the dark will fix you." My mom's silence in the video was deafening. Their lies fell apart. "Dad, how could you?" I whispered, my voice breaking. He turned to me, his eyes hard. "You brought this on yourself, Danielle." My mom reached out. "Danielle, we were trying to protect you, but Officer Michelle stepped between us." "Ma'am, step back," she said sharply. They were let out in handcuffs, my dad glaring. My mom's head bowed. Paramedic Timothy arrived, his voice gentle as he checked my pulse. "You're dehydrated," he said, wrapping a blanket around me. "We're taking you to the hospital." As the ambulance pulled up, I saw Erica standing in the driveway with her parents. She ran to me, her eyes wet. I knew something was wrong, she whispered, hugging me tightly. Mrs. Mary gripped my hand, her face pale with shock. "We had no idea," she said. At the police station later, Detective Carla explained the charges: child endangerment, false imprisonment. My dad was sentenced to 3 years in prison, his military discipline no defense. My mom got probation, her lawyer arguing she was under his control. But I chose no contact. Their betrayal cut too deep, my mom's lies, my dad's cruelty. I couldn't forgive them. As the police car drove away, I stood in the Donovans' driveway, the Portland air cool against my skin. Walking out of that house, I vowed never to return. Walking out of that house, I vowed never to return. The ambulance lights flashed silently as paramedic Timothy helped me onto a stretcher, his calm voice a lifeline in the chaos. "You're safe now," he said, adjusting an IV to counter my dehydration. My body felt heavy, drained from 7 days in the storehouse, but my mind was racing. The Portland suburb I'd called home with its craftsman houses and quiet trails looked foreign now, like a stage set hiding a dark truth. Neighbors peeked from windows, their faces a mix of shock and curiosity, as the police car took my parents away. At the hospital, the emergency room was a blur of beeping monitors and soft voices. Timothy stayed until a nurse took over, checking my vitals and noting my weight loss. "You've been through a lot," she said gently, her eyes kind but professional. Erica and her parents, Mr. Thomas and Mrs. Mary, arrived soon after, their presence a warm anchor. Erica hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe, whispering, "I was so scared for you." Mrs. Mary gripped my hand, her nurse's instincts kicking in as she asked about my condition. Mr. Thomas stood quietly, his usual jokes replaced by a grim nod. "You're coming home with us," he said. The Donovans' house with its porch swing and cookie-scented kitchen became my refuge. They gave me their guest room, a small space with a quilted bed and a window overlooking the garden. It was the first time in years I slept without checking if my door was locked. Counselor Gina, a teen specialist assigned by social services, visited the next day. She had a warm smile, but direct questions asking about my time in the storehouse, my parents' rules, the years of control. "You don't have to go back," she assured me, explaining that at 17 I could stay with the Donovans until I turned 18. The court granted them temporary guardianship, a formality that felt like a lifeline. Dr. Carla, a family trauma specialist, became my therapist. Our weekly sessions in her cozy Portland office helped me untangle the mess of emotions. I was angry at my dad for his cruelty, at my mom for her silence. But there was also grief for the family I'd thought I had, and guilt for wondering if I'd pushed them too far. "You didn't cause this," Dr. Carla said firmly. "Their choices were theirs, not yours." She helped me see the patterns, my dad's control rooted in his military past, my mom's complicity shaped by her own history of being controlled. That diary entry my mom locked in a garage years ago haunted me. Why hadn't she stopped him? The court case moved faster than I expected. Detective Carla, the investigator who'd seen the video, led the charge. At the hearing, I sat in the back, my hands clammy as my parents faced the judge. My dad, Robert, stood rigid, his lawyer arguing he was disciplining me within his rights. But the video, him dragging me to the storehouse, his voice cold, left no room for excuses. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison for child endangerment and false imprisonment with mandatory counseling. My mom, Erin, claimed she was afraid of him, too weak to act. The judge gave her probation and therapy, citing her lack of direct action. I saw her in court, her eyes pleading as she mouthed, "I'm sorry, Danielle." I looked away. Her apologies couldn't undo 7 days of silence. I chose no contact. Letters from my mom arrived at the Donovans' house, but I left them unopened, stacked in a drawer. My dad sent nothing, and I was glad. Cutting them off wasn't easy. It felt like losing a piece of myself, but it was the only way to move forward. I wasn't their daughter anymore, not in the way they wanted. I was Danielle, building a life on my own terms. With Counselor Gina's help, I reapplied to the University of Chicago writing program. The admissions team had heard about my situation. Erica had emailed them explaining why I'd missed the original deadline. They accepted me for the next summer, praising my resilience as much as my writing. The Donovans offered to drive me to Chicago themselves, no secrets needed this time. Living with them showed me what family could be, rules that made sense, laughter that wasn't forced, love that didn't come with strings. 6 months later, I stood in my room at the Donovans' house, now my home. I'd started a new blog this time under my real name, sharing stories of teens who'd faced control or worse. The response was overwhelming: emails from kids who saw themselves in my words, parents who wanted to do better. I began a video series recording in the Donovans' living room, using my story to shine a light on hidden abuse. It wasn't easy. Some nights, the smell of damp concrete from a neighbor's garage would pull me back to the storehouse, my heart racing. But Dr. Carla's sessions helped me breathe through it, to see those moments as scars, not open wounds. Looking back, I learned something vital. Independence is the key to breaking free from toxic control. My parents thought they could fix me, but they were the ones who needed fixing. Recognizing the signs, constant monitoring, punishments that feel like prison silence that enables harm, saved my life. Erica's friendship, her quick thinking with that video, showed me the power of people who believe you. If you're in a place where you feel trapped, know this: you're stronger than you think. There are people who will listen, resources like Child Help USA's hotline that can help. Don't wait for someone else to unlock the door. Reach out, speak up, because your voice matters. This experience taught me that freedom isn't just walking out of a locked shed. It's choosing who you let into your life. I rebuilt mine with the Donovans, with writing, with truth. If you're watching from a safe place, you're lucky. If you're not, there's light waiting for you. I'm free now, and my story is for anyone still trapped in their own darkness. Thank you for listening. If my story resonated, please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments if you're comfortable. Your support helps others find this message.